What up? What up? It is Alex, the Fantasy Football Hustler, back at you. I got another quick hitting waiver wire video for you guys, tight end edition, often the loose end. I got 6 guys to talk about today. What I'm going to be doing moving forward, I'm going to give you guys who I think have great matchups this week, but I'm also going to highlight weeks that these tight ends have that are amazing moving forward, because not every tight end does not have a great schedule moving forward. Actually, probably not that many actually do. So you might be having to have 2 or 3 tight ends where you pick and choose who you're going to be putting out there. So I'm going to give you guys who I think that you should pick up this week. And then also I'm just going to give you their highlighted weeks moving forward where they have really great matchups. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get down to biz. First guy I got to highlight here, Mr. Jatavion Sanders. Good job not telling anybody about him.
But shh, don't tell nobody.
2 out of the last 3 weeks, over 60 yards and over 12 points in 2 out of the last 3 weeks. So in good matchups, he is handling biz. Now he has a horrible matchup this week. Might be the worst matchup that any tight end can have. But the weeks that I want to pick him up for, week 12, week 13, and week 17. Just remember, my next guy here, Mr. Jonnu Smith, definitely goes in waves of being good, being okay, even being great. We've seen a couple great games from him. Now, the one thing that I will say, his playoff schedule is horrible. Might be one of the worst. But guess what? This week, week 10, for the next 4 weeks through week 13, he has great matchups. Maybe week 12, subjective if it's great or not. But week 11, week 13, literally playing 2 of the teams that are giving up top 5 points to tight end. So Jonnu Smith is a great pickup if you have a lot of crazy bye weeks coming up. And if you have a tight end spot, you need 1 or 2 of these guys, and he's actually should be solid over the next 4 weeks. Let's get it.
Pick him up.
Next man up, Mr. Zach Ertz. Ooh, man, we've seen 2 different versions of him depending on if they are playing a good team or a bad team at defending the tight end. Giants, they are one of the worst teams that you can deploy your tight end against. He scores like 1 point, but they got Pittsburgh this week. Great matchup. Then it comes to some bad matchups. So I think if you're picking him up as a 1-week fill-in, perfect. Week 15, he has a really good matchup as well. But week 10 and week 15, that's it for Zach Ertz. But great 1-week fill-in if you need a guy for this week only. I bet he gets massively dropped after throwing up 1 point last week. But that's literally against the team giving up the least amount of points to tight end. So it was a horrible matchup to begin with. Just like I told you if you watched the start and sit video last week. Next man up, Mr. Hunter Henry. He's coming off like 4 decent performances. It's not amazing because he's only scored 1 touchdown over the last 4 games, but for a tight end to put up 10 plus points in 3 out of the last 4 games, and one of those games versus a really tough matchup, he put up 9.5. I feel like this is like one of Drake May's like best friends out there. He's got great matchups over the next 2 weeks with the Bears and with the Rams, and then the Colts in week 13. Amazing matchups 3 out of the next 4 weeks. So if you need someone who's more than just a bye week fill-in, but someone you might want to deploy for the next couple weeks, I'm not deploying them in week 12. They've been pretty tough against the tight ends, but 3 out of the next 4 weeks, I will fire him up.
All right. Fire him up.
Now here's another guy who's been like Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde. Shout out to 90s. 2 out of the last 3 weeks, though, over 10 points. But Houston is a horrible matchup for tight ends. That's why I told you guys to sit him if you watched the start sit video last week. Now, this week versus the Cardinals, it's not an amazing matchup. But the reason why I put him as one of my favorites to pick up is because week 11, great matchup. They got their bye in week 12. That sucks. Good matchup in week 13. Really bad matchup in week 14. But then great matchups in week 15 and 16 to start your playoff run. So he's a guy, maybe you don't even play this week. Maybe you don't play over the next couple weeks. But just housing him for week 15 and 16 when he has amazing matchups, it will be way better for you to be housing him and not need him than let one of your opponents go pick him up and let him somehow beat you because you heard this and they didn't weeks and weeks in advance. So So keep that in mind. We got to play defense through the waiver wires. My last guy to talk about here, he's very icky. He does a gross gritty. Oh yeah, it's Mike Gesicki. Amazing game this past week versus the Raiders. He's got a decent matchup against Baltimore. If Eric All Jr. misses, it just means a lot more targets getting funneled to Gesicki. He doesn't have a great schedule the rest of the way. Really, week 10 and week 13, those are the weeks that I want to deploy him with all types of confidence. But this week specifically, if Eric All doesn't play, he's on a roll. His 2 games over 10 points just in the last 2 weeks. We love to see it. Great matchup this week. Not so good against the Chargers, but he's my favorite pickup and start this week out of everybody. And then don't forget week 13 as well. Could do you good. And there you have it. We made it to the end of the tight end waiver wire video. Let me know in the comments what you think about me highlighting some of the weeks where they have really great matchups moving forward. I'm also going to do the same thing with team defense. I got a bunch of videos that are going to be popping up, so wait till the end. Hit subscribe if you have not. And then don't forget, I'm a little bit different in this fantasy game than a lot of these peeps out there. A lot of these peeps just want to make content and that's it. I host probably more leagues than any regular fantasy content creator out there. And I got to tell people about my leagues that are going to be starting right after the fantasy football season ends. So these kick off for the NFL playoffs. It's a 3-week tournament. It's a battle royale. It is super fun. $20, $35, $55 entries, all very cheap. So you can get into a handful of them if you want. Very fun. Everybody else, they're going to be going on vacation after week 17. All these fantasy content creators. No, we don't do that. This is a year-round thing for us. So we're going to be drafting for the NFL playoffs, like a week's worth of drafts, slow drafts, fast drafts, with IDP, without IDP, anything you guys want to get into. Super fun. And then start February, dynasty drafts are starting. So get ready. 420crew.com is where you go join the private community so you get access to all this and get all the info ahead of time. You can join for free, so go do it, but join as a paid member as well. I don't have any corporate sponsorships. I'm show some love to your boy. I appreciate you. And don't forget to rinse and repeat because I'm bringing the heat. Click on one of these videos that's popping up right now. And then don't forget, I have an IDP waiver wire video as well. Go check that out if you're an IDP savant.